Founded in 1990 by Karen Davis, United Poultry Concerns is the world's foremost nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the respectful treatment of birds bred and killed in our food system. For 3 decades, UPC has been teaching people about the cruelty in the poultry and egg industries, the abuse of birds in education and scientific experimentation, as well as the pleasures and benefits of human-bird companionship and the natural and individual lives of chickens and turkeys. UPC runs a sanctuary for chickens and other domestic birds in Machapongo, Virginia, with currently over 200 rescued residents. For 30 years, UPC has organized protests, leafletings, tables, exhibits, lectures, and other advocacy events, produced and distributed tens of thousands of leaflets and booklets, and hosted decades of conferences. The driving force behind United Poultry Concerns is Karen Davis. Karen has a PhD in English from the University of Maryland, College Park, where she taught for 12 years in the English department and founded the Student Animal Rights Club in 1989. Karen wrote the first and most comprehensive book in our movement on the poultry and egg industry called Prison Chickens, Poisoned Eggs. She wrote the first and only book in our movement on turkeys called More Than a Meal, The Turkey in History, Myth, Ritual, and Reality. And she published an influential book on the pros and cons of comparing atrocities called The Holocaust and the Handmaid's Tale. Karen also wrote a cookbook, a children's book, and a teacher's guide to replacing classroom chick hatching programs. Karen's latest book, published in 2019, is a collection of essays titled For the Birds, From Exploitation to Liberation. This title sums up what UPC is all about. It all started in 1985 when Karen rescued a little hen named Viva. She and her husband rented a small house where a broken-down shed housed about 100 chickens. One morning, the shed was empty except for one small hen, abandoned, hiding in the corner. She was filthy, her legs were deformed, her eyes were lusterless. Karen took her home and named her Viva. Viva's crippled legs kept her in distress, but she responded to Karen's affection with gentle peeps of contentment. As she grew, though, her condition worsened, and she was diagnosed with a congenital disease called splayfoot, a painful weakness in her joints common in birds bred in the modern poultry industry. The vet said that all that could be done was to euthanize Viva. The experience forever changed Karen, and she dedicated her life to chickens from then on. When she first had the idea, Karen was discouraged from starting an organization for chickens. She was told we can barely get people to care about whales, so how can we ever get people to care about chickens? But Karen forged ahead with the historic founding of United Poultry Concerns.
I began talking to some people in the animal movement about my intention to maybe start an organization that would focus primarily on chickens and turkeys. And a lot of people said to me, well, I don't know about that. You're not going to make any money. And if you're going to do farm animals and you're going to focus on a particular farm animal, you probably should focus on pigs, because at least pigs have, some public sympathy, and chickens don't have as much sympathy. And my reaction to that was, well, all the more reason to start an organization for chickens, because they obviously need a voice. They have voices, but they need a voice. And so in October of 1990, I formally started United Poultry Concerns.
Chickens are not covered by most animal protection laws. And when she saw that even animal rights activists pretty much ignore these birds, Karen founded United Poultry Concerns so that someone would speak up for them.
Each chicken rescued is somebody who has a second chance, or even in this case, a first chance at a real life.
Come here, sweeties. Come here, dears.
In 1991, Karen launched United Poultry Concerns' quarterly magazine, Poultry Press. Still in circulation today, Poultry Press was chosen one of the best nonprofit publications in North America by Utne magazine. In 1992, UPC held a 24-hour vigil for chickens outside a Purdue chicken slaughter plant that drew attention from the community and media outlets. This would be the first of many public outreach events organized by UPC over 3 decades.
What do we want? Chickens free! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Chickens free! When do we want it? Now!
The kind of thing that we are seeing here today with birds who have been off food and water for maybe 12 hours, who are cramped, who have broken bones and torn ligaments, and whose lives are coming to an end, and whose lives only were for the purpose of coming to an end. All of this makes me feel very sad, and to be more than ever committed to wanting to create a world in which chickens and other non-human animals are no longer regarded as food, but are seen as fellow creatures with whom it is our privilege to share this life on Earth for a few brief moments of consciousness. I think this is what we're trying to show people. This is what I'm trying to show people.
Turkeys have been an important focus since the 1990s, with gatherings at the UPC's home office during Thanksgiving, offering visitors a chance to experience the holidays with the rescued turkeys at UPC's sanctuary.
And seeing the turkeys, and especially hearing their voices around the farmyard, there's a sort of pathos to their voice that becomes very haunting to one, and certainly haunted me, and I liked their company.
The other guests warmed up to the turkeys as well, while feasting on vegetarian delights from Karen's cookbook. Turkeys welcome, chickpeas watch out.
We're pioneers who seek to make the national bird one of our friends instead of our meal.
For the record, when the Clintons pulled out their cutlery this afternoon, it was celery they minced, while back at Karen's Thanksgiving party, the turkeys never even winced.
UPC started a tradition of hosting a turkey vigil at the White House in Washington, D.C. every Thanksgiving season to draw attention to the plight of these beautiful birds. Campaigns for turkeys continue today with large transit media ads every Thanksgiving season in various cities across the country, encouraging compassion for turkeys. In 1999, the Washington Post featured UPC's work in an article called For the Birds. This 3-page profile won the Arc Trust Genesis Award for Outstanding Newspaper Feature Story. On November 14, 2000, Karen and United Poultry Concerns were featured on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's primetime TV show Witness in a full-length documentary called Chickens Are People Too.
Tonight on Witness, crying foul over chickens.
These chickens who are used for food production live their entire lives in prison camps. They are quite literally imprisoned. It would be the same as if somebody came into your house or my house and suddenly grabbed us by our heels, took us out of our beds, hung us upside down, and just tossed us into crates.
In the early 2000s, UPC promoted one of the first whistleblowers from the chicken industry, Virgil Butler. Virgil worked for years as a chicken catcher, hanger, and throat cutter before his conscience forced him to quit. Virgil wanted to speak out about the cruelties he saw every day and spoke passionately at the 2004 UPC forum that amplified his story. Virgil was steeped in violence and cruelty his whole life. That he emerged to become a powerful voice for chickens is nothing short of amazing.
One of the other things I want to talk about is the industry purports a lot of myths about things. Like they say that the stunner was designed as a humane method of rendering a chicken insensitive to pain. That's a bald-faced lie. And that's not what they told us. That's not what they told us. The only reason they instituted the stunner was so that they could institute a killing machine to kill faster. So that the human killer, who's actually, there's absolutely no way that you can kill 186 birds a minute. But a machine can kill enough of them, supposedly, to where the human killer can finish it. That never happens.
In May 2005, UPC created the first international campaign to bring attention to the plight of chickens worldwide called International Respect for Chickens Day. For 15 years, this annual May 4th Day of Action has encouraged advocates to take action for chickens, from writing letters to the editor, to leafleting and protests, to library and school educational displays. In 2007, media celebrity Ira Glass, host of the popular public radio show This American Life on NPR, appeared on Late Night with David Letterman, where he told Letterman and millions of viewers that his visit to the United Poultry Concern's chicken sanctuary led him to develop sympathy for chickens and become a vegetarian.
We got protested. We got protested on the radio show, and when you're on public radio, like the kinds of things people will protest you for and write to you angrily about will be the grammar of your sentences often and things like that. But there was a period where for several years actually, this woman named Karen Davis, who runs like a poultry advocacy group, she was upset because every Thanksgiving we would do, like during the highest poultry consumption months of the year, which are your Thanksgiving and your Christmas, we would do every year we would do a show about turkeys and chickens and ducks and poultry, and we called it the Poultry Slam after the Poetry Slam, which is a Chicago institution, and they were really, really angry, and they organized letter writing campaigns where they wrote to us, they wrote to our underwriters, they wrote to our network, they wrote to all the member stations, they wrote to me personally. I would get mail at home from people, very, very angry chicken advocates, because they said that they said just the name of the show, slam. It's like you're saying like chickens are bad and we should slam them, and then. In the show, there was, a documentary show, and so people in the show people who had raised chickens would say that chickens are kind of, they don't have a personality, and you don't really bond with a chicken when you raise a chicken. And like, I don't know, like I'm from the suburbs, do you know what I mean? Like I don't know, like from raising chickens. And so we, we're reporters, like we put them on saying this. They're like, no. And Karen Davis, she was saying like, no. By saying that, what you're doing is that you're making it possible for people to eat chickens because you just see them as these creatures with no personalities. And I just felt like, do you know what I mean? Like if you're a chicken activist, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you look around, it's Armageddon. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? She kept saying, you've got it wrong. Like chickens, you've got it wrong. Chickens actually have personalities. And if you would come to my house, you would see I have these chickens. And so I was like, I don't know, like I'm a reporter, right? Like, so I was like, okay, maybe we got this wrong. And so I went to her house in Eastern Maryland. There was a lot of poultry production in Purdue Farms and all these poultry places. And every time after that, I would have a piece of chicken. I would think back to her chickens and the shy ones and the outgoing ones. And I would think, is this the last piece of chicken I'm going to eat? And then eventually it was the last. Like, and I became a vegetarian because of that woman. Wow. She got the last laugh on me.
Wow, how about that?
In the second decade of UPC, Karen Davis was inducted into the U.S. Animal Rights Hall of Fame for outstanding contributions to animal liberation. In 2010, UPC and a group of New York activists formed the historic Alliance to End Chickens as Kaporis. In parts of the Orthodox Jewish community, Kaporis is the practice of swinging and slaughtering chickens in so-called atonement rituals. Practiced by a small sect of Judaism, Kaporis rituals still slaughter thousands of chickens each year throughout the world. This practice is condemned by most Jews and others, including many Orthodox rabbis, as cruel and unjustified. Chickens can easily be substituted with money or other non-animal symbols of atonement. Starting in 2012 and continuing today, UPC hosts an annual conference in Berkeley, California called the Conscious Eating Conference, bringing prominent and powerful animal rights academics and activists to speak on a variety of topics related to veganism and animal liberation. United Poultry Concerns hosts video outreach events where activists ask college students to watch a short video on animal agriculture for $1. This highly effective form of outreach sometimes moves students to tears and converts them to vegetarian or veganism on the spot. After 30 years, UPC's staff and volunteers continue to passionately advocate for chickens and all birds. The incredible progress we've seen over the past 3 decades for chickens and turkeys and the sizable surge in animal-free meat and egg alternatives is in large part due to United Poultry Concerns and Karen Davis. The resilience and tenacity of this one woman has created a legacy of decades of raised awareness and changed hearts and minds about the plight and delight of chickens, turkeys, ducks, and other domestically exploited birds. We are so very grateful for all of UPC's dedicated supporters over the last 30 years. Please continue to support our work so that we can fight for chickens and all birds for decades to come.